This is vailychat.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, dio.
Nice.
Gotta get the vocal cords ready. Welcome to vailychat, everyone.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, so today is Wednesday, April 22, 2026. And, there's this immense comfort in the concept of a calendar, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's this rigid, reliable, almost architectural grid that we all just subconsciously rely on. You look at a Tuesday in April and you know exactly what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, municipal offices open at 9. The ski lifts are running on their spring schedule.
Exactly. And the global shipping lanes are functioning just like they did yesterday. But today's deep dive is all about what we're calling systemic whiplash.
Systemic whiplash. I like that.
Because looking at the dense stack of sources we have for today, it's honestly like someone took a blowtorch to that calendar.
The squares are physically melting.
They really are. So our mission today is to figure out how you survive when the calendar, whether it's the climate calendar, the political calendar, or even just the local event schedule in your town, completely breaks down.
Right. Because it really is the ultimate stress test for human infrastructure. When expected timelines evaporate, you get friction. Massive systemic friction.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we have to start with the widest possible lens. We have a rapid-fire rundown of the top 5 breaking stories today, and they are intense.
They really are. It's a lot of unpredictability playing out at once.
So story 1, the geopolitical wires are giving me genuine vertigo. President Trump has extended the U.S.-Iran ceasefire indefinitely.
And the sources note that was specifically at Pakistan's request.
Right. But simultaneously, the U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports remains fully in place.
Which is a massive logistical contradiction.
Yeah, and while the ink on that ceasefire is drying, Iran's Revolutionary Guards just seized 2 container ships in the Strait of Hormuz.
Including the Liberia-flagged Epaminondas, which was bound for India.
Exactly. So that's story 1. Story 2 is domestic. The DOJ and FBI Director Kash Patel have indicted the Southern Poverty Law Center, the SPLC.
Yeah, and we need to pause here for a second.
Yes, absolutely. Just to be abundantly clear with you, the listener, right up front, because this is obviously a highly charged political story, we are not taking a side here.
We do not endorse any left-wing or right-wing viewpoints on this show.
None at all. We're strictly and impartially reporting the legal and logistical facts from the sources.
Right, just the administrative realities.
Exactly. So purely from an administrative standpoint, they indicted the SPLC for wire fraud, bank fraud, and money laundering.
Alleging the nonprofit paid $3 million to extremist groups between 2014 and 2023.
That's story 2. Moving on to story 3, another legal shockwave, but in tech. Florida's Attorney General has launched a criminal investigation into ChatGPT.
Yeah, following a fatal shooting at Florida State University.
Which is just, it's wild to even process. Story 4 brings the whiplash right to our backyard. Dire new models project the Colorado River will deliver only 1/5 of its normal flow to Lake Powell this year.
1/5. That is catastrophic.
It is. And locally, story 5, our infrastructure is physically shifting to handle it. The Eagle County Avon Annex is permanently closing on May 3.
They're consolidating down Valley.
Yeah, moving services to the Edwards Commons facility, which reopens May 7.
Wow.
So looking at all 5 of these things, these national and global systems feel completely gridlocked. How does this massive level of administrative unpredictability trickle down to impact the actual physical infrastructure we rely on?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to look at how these massive networks actually operate. Take international maritime shipping, for instance.
Okay.
It's an industry that operates on incredibly tight margins, precise, almost down to the minute scheduling.
Right.
So when a choke point like the Strait of Hormuz becomes volatile, where you literally have ceasefires and ship seizures in the same 24-hour cycle, the maritime insurance market's just panic.
Oh, I bet.
The premiums for cargo ships to transit those waters skyrocket overnight, so shipping companies refuse to pay.
They just route around it.
Precisely. They reroute their vessels around entire continents to avoid the risk altogether.
Which means raw materials or finished goods are delayed by weeks.
Exactly. By the time a shipping container of lumber reaches a hardware store in Colorado, the price has tripled and the construction season is half over.
It's like your GPS rerouting your morning commute through South America.
Yeah. The cost goes up, availability goes down, simply because the geopolitical calendar is in chaos.
And that administrative whiplash is tearing through domestic institutions, too, like with that DOJ indictment of the SPLC.
Right, and again, looking purely at the logistics of those specific charges.
Yeah, why did the specific charges matter so much?
Because wire fraud and money laundering act as a tactical strike on an organization's supply chain.
How so?
They inherently freeze assets. Banks become terrified to process payroll or handle donations for fear of being implicated,
Oh, wow. So it instantly paralyzes their logistics.
long before anyone sets foot in a courtroom. The legal system itself is being used as a real-time friction mechanism.
And speaking of legal friction, the ChatGPT investigation in Florida is pushing the courts way beyond their designed limits. Entirely unprecedented territory.
I really struggle to wrap my head around it. How do you criminally investigate a large language model?
Well, our legal system is designed to prosecute human intent.
Right. The law requires a state of mind.
Exactly. And since an algorithm doesn't have a state of mind, prosecutors have to look for the intent within the code itself or the corporate guardrails.
So they're subpoenaing training data and internal testing logs.
Most likely, yeah. Looking to see if the developers knew the AI could generate lethal instructions without friction and chose to release it anyway.
It's like trying to indict a public library because someone checked out a chemistry textbook and built a bomb.
We are trying to force a 20th century legal calendar onto a 21st century technological crisis.
It's wild. But, that breakdown isn't just an abstract political or legal problem. You see that exact same systemic failure when you look at the physical ground in the Eagle Valley today. Oh, absolutely. The ecological friction is undeniable.
The hydrology data is terrifying, delivering only 1/5 of normal flow to Lake Powell.
To understand why that number is so bad, you just have to look at the snowpack data. The Eagle Valley Snowtell site recorded total meltout on March 31st,
Which is the earliest in recorded history, right?
the earliest ever.
But how does shifting the meltout date forward a few weeks destroy 80% of the river's flow?
Because it changes how the Earth interacts with the water.
Okay.
When snow melts in March instead of May, the water hits soil that is incredibly parched from the winter.
Oh, so it just acts like a sponge.
Exactly. It absorbs a massive percentage of that runoff into the ground before it ever reaches the riverbed. Plus, the extreme heat causes staggering evaporative loss.
So even if we had decent snow, the timing ensures the river starves.
That's right. It's like pouring a glass of water onto a bone-dry kitchen sponge.
Not a single drop hits the counter. And you can see that starvation translating instantly to the local economy. Vail Mountain and Beaver Creek are totally terminated for the season.
A total shutdown of the primary economic engine.
But the logs show they haven't just gone home. The personnel pivoted entirely to erosion control.
Yeah, without the snowpack to slowly release moisture and bind the soil, rapid runoff from spring rain could cause catastrophic mudslides.
So they're physically fighting to keep the dirt on the hill so the ski runs exist next year.
Desperate, pragmatic adaptation.
Although Copper Mountain is totally bucking the trend.
Oh, yeah, they are.
They're offering a tactical extension of their season with $49 lift tickets.
Which is a fascinating microeconomic play.
Right.
When giant competitors close due to environmental friction, the agile competitor slashes prices to capture whatever winter enthusiasm is left.
But for the rest of the region, the municipal infrastructure is shifting hard. Like we mentioned in the rundown, the Avon Annex closing May 3 and consolidating Down Valley.
Right.
I was thinking about it, and it feels almost like a reverse snow day.
A reverse snow day. Expand on that.
Well, normally a blizzard hits, roads close, and the economy temporarily freezes. You stay home, shovel the driveway,
Sure.
The physical weather forces you to hunker down. But here, the sudden extreme heat and lack of water are forcing the exact opposite reaction.
That makes a lot of sense.
The government is scrambling to physically pack up and move resources down the valley just to stay functional. The lack of weather is causing hyperactivity.
And that municipal hyperactivity is bottlenecked by physical transit corridors that are also failing.
Oh, Glenwood Canyon.
Yeah. Look at the logs for Glenwood Canyon today. It's restricted to 50% capacity for bridge joint reconstruction.
It's a nightmare.
They enforced a strict 35-mile-per-hour speed limit and an 11-foot width restriction for commercial vehicles.
If you've ever driven Glenwood Canyon, you know it's a white-knuckle experience in perfect conditions.
Exactly. Squeezing commercial trucks through an 11-foot gap at 35 miles per hour.
Horrible.
Now connect that back to the international shipping crisis. Goods rerouted around continents delayed by weeks. When those trucks finally arrive in Colorado,
They are forced into a single lane crawling through a canyon.
supplying a mountain economy that just realized its primary resource is completely gone for the year.
It's a compounding crisis. But here's where it gets really interesting, because the question is, how do people actually cope with all this? Today is April 22. It's Earth Day.
Right.
And despite the drought, the closed mountains, the supply chain chaos, the Eagle Valley is just buzzing with hyper-local activation.
People are stepping up.
They really are. It's not a day of despair at all. It's highly organized action. We've got the Vail Venture scavenger hunt that kicked off at 11 a.m. this morning.
Over at Two Arrows Coffee in the Vail Corps.
Yep. And then the Earth Day lunch with the locals, hosted by the Walking Mountain Science Center in Avon at noon.
And the Soul Power Plus Earth Day happy hour this afternoon.
Exactly. They are finding unique, interactive ways to celebrate community resilience.
What's fascinating here is how the community is essentially gamifying sustainability to regain a sense of control.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Because when global systems and the physical climate feel utterly chaotic, human beings naturally crave structure.
We crave rules and boundaries.
We crave undeniable fairness. And that psychological craving is entirely redefining the local culture right now.
It is, because we aren't just seeing a casual pivot to spring sports since the ski lifts closed.
No, it's explosive.
Communities are replacing the lost structure of winter with the rigorous, undeniable structure of a scoreboard.
A scoreboard is a fact. It doesn't require a geopolitical debate to understand.
Right. Look at the local high school athletics. The Battle Mountain Huskies girls soccer team just crushed Summit 5-1.
Pushing them to a 4-2 record.
Yeah. It gives the town a clear victory to rally around. And across campus, the girls' lacrosse team is performing at an incredibly high level.
They're undefeated, right?
Undefeated at 4-0. They just beat Roaring Fork 16-5. But what I love most is how they're leveraging that success to build resilience. They're hosting the Community Cup rivalry game against Eagle Valley.
And they took a vote, right? To raise money.
Yes. They decided to use the game to raise money for the American Cancer Society.
That is a brilliant example of bypassing paralyzed systems.
I mean, they're high school athletes.
Right. Looking at their local platform and connecting it directly to a national cause. They're generating local joy and converting it into national support.
Completely circumventing the gridlock we see at the federal level.
It's pure execution.
And if we expand the lens slightly, we see this massive shift towards sports as a cultural anchor happening at the macro level, too.
Oh, down in Denver.
Down in Denver.
Yeah.
The Summit FC professional women's soccer team just set an absolute milestone attendance record.
63,040 fans at Mile High Stadium.
Over 63,000 people gathering for a women's soccer match.
It's staggering. It represents a profound reallocation of public attention.
The public is voting with their presence.
Actively choosing to invest their energy into a new, highly structured competition.
And that deep human desire for absolute precision was echoed on the slopes, too, right before the season abruptly ended.
The National Super G title.
Yes. Skiers River Radames and Isaiah Nelson hit a mathematically perfect dead heat tie.
Down to the 100th of a second.
They both crossed the finish line at exactly 1 minute and 8.38 seconds.
It is almost impossible to comprehend the math required for that.
Two humans navigating a mountain at highway speeds on different runs, tying to the 100th of a second.
But in a world where the Strait of Hormuz is closing and the river is drying up, there's something deeply soothing about a stopwatch working perfectly.
It grounds the community. It reminds us that precision and fairness still exist, even if you have to look for them on a racecourse or a lacrosse field rather than your calendar.
Exactly.
So as we pull all these threads together, what we are really looking at today is a masterclass in adaptation. From the waters of the Middle East to the closure of the Avon Annex to 63,000 screaming soccer fans in Denver, the old expectations are officially obsolete.
The massive systems built for a predictable world are buckling. The DOJ, Maritime shipping, the river models, they are struggling to apply old rules to unprecedented chaos.
At the exact same time, you have high school lacrosse players raising money for cancer research and towns gamifying Earth Day.
The structural friction is incredibly high, but the human capacity for adaptation is faster.
And that brings us directly to you listening right now.
Yeah.
Because whether you are navigating massive corporate shifts at your job or unpredictable travel delays or just changes in your own neighborhood, the ability to pivot without warning is the most valuable skill you can cultivate right now.
The rigid calendar you relied on is gone. Surviving this era is about letting go of the expectation that legacy systems will catch you.
You have to focus on how quickly you can adjust your own footing, which leaves me with a final, somewhat provocative thought for you to mull over as you go about your day.
Let's hear it.
If the climate, global supply chains, and our local economies can no longer rely on predictable seasons or schedules, what does that mean for our personal lives?
That's a huge question.
Are we entering an era where we simply shouldn't plan our careers and our families by rigid 5-year plans or fiscal quarters?
Must we instead learn to thrive in a state of permanent, real-time reaction?
If the squares on the calendar have all melted together, perhaps the only way forward is to stop looking at the grid entirely.
It is a completely new way to live, but it might be the only way that works.
It really might be. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the friction of adaptation.
It's been a great conversation.
It has. And hey, if you enjoyed today's deep dive, please hit that like button, share this with a friend, and follow the vailychat page to stay ahead of Eagle Valley's news and community events.
Keep questioning the old rules, everyone.
We will see you next time.